Here we go. Okay, so solving systems of equations. First of all, a system of equations is two separate equations. Okay, it's two separate equations. But the thing about them is these two equations will have something in common. Okay, when you graph these two equations, there's a point on the graph where the x and the y values will work for both equations. Okay, now when we solve systems of equations, we're going to be doing this all week and part of next week. This is the easiest way to solve systems of equations, okay, by graphing. Okay, so um, first thing we need to take into account, okay, remember, this is really, really important. Y equals mx plus b. You're going to use this every time you do a problem today, okay? What's important about this? We already did this. This m stands for the slope, and the b stands for the, okay. Now, is there any questions as far as how that works? You don't have to change these equations at all. They're going to be presented to you already in slope-intercept form. Okay? So they're already going to be in this form. All you have to do from that point is graph them. Okay? Well, when I have an equation that is in slope-intercept form, how do I graph it? Okay, how many of you guys, when we did that section, how many of you guys had trouble with just graphing from slope-intercept? Okay, it's actually pretty simple. You first have to have the y-intercept. Okay, what does the y-intercept mean? That's where the line what? Crosses the y-axis. Okay, this thing is where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, and this slope, how do you graph slope? Well, slope, remember, is in a fraction form. Okay, and it's always going to be the change in y. It's always going to be up or down over, and anytime you graph slope, it's always going to be going to the right because we always make the negative if it's negative the top number. Okay, do you remember how to graph slope now? Okay, this slope is graphed from where? Anybody remember? Do I graph this from the origin? No, this is graphed from the y-intercept. You have to graph the y-intercept first, okay? So before we go any further, okay, let's say I have an equation, let's make it real simple. Y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Okay, if I'm going to graph this equation, first of all, is this already in slope-intercept form? It is, right? We're good with that. Okay, so what do I need to identify before I can graph this one? The first thing I have to identify, the y-intercept, okay? So my y-intercept here is going to be this, and I include what? The sign that's in front of it. So what's the y-intercept? Positive 1, okay? Before I even find the slope, can I go ahead and graph this? Okay, remember, this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, okay? What this is telling me is this line crosses the y-axis where? At 1. Well, where's 1 on the y-axis? Is it here? That's 1 on the what? X-axis. Where's 1 on the y-axis? Right here, okay? So we're going to put a point there. Does everybody, before I go any further, does everybody understand that? Okay, from there I have to graph my slope. Well, what is the number that's in front of this x? 2/3. Okay, now, both of these happen to be what? Both numbers in that slope are what? They're both positive, okay? So that means if it's positive on a graph, I'm going up and I'm going where? To the right, okay? So that means I'm going to go up 2 and I'm going to go over 3. But where do I do that from? Do I do that from here? I do that from here. So how do I go up 2? I go up 1, 2, and I go over how many? 1, 2, 3. And I put my second point. And then all I have to do is put a what? Put a line through there, okay? Does everybody understand? Before we start doing systems, you understand how to graph from slope-intercept point. It's not that difficult, is it? You find the y-intercept, then you find the slope. Okay? Am I clear on that? Okay, I can move on. Okay, excellent. So let's say that I have a system of equations, okay? And the way you're going to see a system of equations, it's going to have two separate equations, okay? So I'm going to have, let's say I have y equals 5 over 2x plus 4. And my second equation is y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 4. Okay, so this is what we call a system of equations. We have two separate equations. And what we're going to do is we're going to graph these. And at some point, if they are a system of equations, they're going to intersect. Okay? So what we're going to do to find that is graph each one individually. Can I graph this first one? Okay, tell me what the y-intercept, everybody tell me what the y-intercept of this first one is. Does everybody understand that that's 4? Okay, what's the slope of this first one? 5 over 2. So I can say up 5 and over 2. Before I go any further, does everybody understand that? Then let's graph that point. Okay? I'm going to start with the y-intercept. Where is the y-intercept of 4 going to be graphed at? Right here? What is this? So I'm going to go on the y. So 1, 2, 3. Should I put a point here? Right there. Good. Now, what was my slope? My y-intercept was 4, and my slope was 5 over 2? Okay, so I'm going to go up 5 over 2. From here? From where? From the y-intercept. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2. Should I put a point here? Okay. And then I'm going to draw a line. Okay, here's the thing. When you are solving systems of equations by graphing, your lines have to be very, very straight. Okay? I have rulers if you want to borrow them once we do the assignment. Okay? But you have to make very straight lines so that you can see a definitive place where they intersect. Does that make sense? All right, let's look at the other one. Okay? The other equation I have. Can somebody tell me what the y-intercept of this one is? Everybody tell me together. What is it? The y-intercept is negative 4. Is there any question about that? Any question about that? No. What's the slope? Negative 3/2. Now, remember what I told you. When we have slope and we have a negative, which one do we make the negative? The top number. Okay? So that's going to be m equals negative 3 over 2. Okay? Does everybody understand where these numbers came from? All right. Is there anybody that does not? Okay. Let's go ahead and put this over here. B equals negative 4, and my slope is negative 3 over 2. That means I'm going to go down 3 and over 2. Okay? What's the first thing I have to graph here? I got to graph the slope, or the y-intercept of negative 4. Should that be back here? Back here? No, where is it? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Should I put a point here? Okay, does everybody understand what I did there? Now we're going to graph our slope. How do I graph a slope of negative 3, 2? I'm going to go down 3 from here. From right here. So I go down 1, 2, 3. And then where do I go? Over 2. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Now I'm going to put another line here. And I want to try to be as straight as I possibly can. Let's see. I think they're supposed to intersect. Okay. So if I notice, where do these two lines intersect? What are the coordinates of that point where they intersect? Okay, so the answer to this would be negative 2, negative 1. Anytime you solve a system of equations, your answer is going to be in ordered pair. All you're doing is finding where those two intersect. Okay? Do you see why it's super important that you have straight lines? If you don't have straight lines, you're not going to be able to see the intersection. Does that make sense? Okay? So, yes, these intersect right here at negative 2, negative 1. Now, just so you know, if I was to go in and plug those in, which you're not going to do, but if I was going to go and plug the y of negative 1 and this negative 2 for x, they would be the same. Does that make sense? What I did there? Yes? Okay. Are you sure? You don't sound very confident. I know, I'm sorry. All right, so let's try a simple one, okay? Let's say I've got y equals, I've got y equals negative 1/4 x plus 4, and I've got y equals 5/4 x minus 2. Okay. In your notes, identify the slope and the y-intercept for each of these. Do it. Do it good. Okay. Together, tell me what you got for the y-intercept on this first one. 4. Way to be together, Ben. What's the slope on this one, first one? Negative 1 over 4. Okay. What's the y-intercept of the second one? Negative 2. What's the slope? Okay. All we did was identify them, right? Can we graph them now? All right, let's graph the first one. Okay, we have a y-intercept of 4, and our slope was negative 1/4. Is that right? Okay. How do I graph a y-intercept of 4? Right here? What if I was to graph the slope first? Would I get the right answer? No. You have to graph the y-intercept first. So that's going to be right here. Agreed? And then how do I graph a slope? Down 1 over 4. So I'm going to go from where? Down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, does that look about right? Okay. So we'll put a line through those. Okay, let's take our second one, which was negative 2 and 5/4. Okay. So slope is okay. So where's my y-intercept going to be on this one? I'm going to go down 2, right? And what's my slope? Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over how many? Okay, what do you notice? They already what? They already intersect. They intersect right there. That makes it easy. Because if I was to make my line here, my intersection point is where? So what's my answer going to be to this equation? This system of equations? Over 4, up 3. Okay? So my answer to this one would be 4, 3. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes? Or no? Okay, good. Now, there's also some that you might see that look like this. Okay? Let's say I have, this is an easy one. Let's say I have y equals x plus 3 and y equals x plus 1. Can you tell me the y-intercept on this? What is it? 3? What's the slope? All I have is an x there. What does that mean? It means my slope is 1, right? Well, how do I, your slope has to be in a what? Fraction. So what would my slope be? 1 over 1. Okay, now let's look at this one. What's my y-intercept? 1. What's my slope going to be in this one? 1 over 1. Does everybody understand where these came from? Okay, so if I graph this, I have a y-intercept of 3. Alright, so I have a y-intercept of 3. And what's my slope? Slope is 1 over 1. So I go up 1 over 1, right? Agreed? Okay. Carson, help me graph the second one. Uh-huh. Okay. You guys see a problem here? They're what? They're parallel. They're never going to intersect, are they? You know, I made my lines a little bit crooked, but they are not going to intersect. So if you have something like this, okay, there is not going to be an answer. There's no answer that you could put here because there's no intersection of these 2 points, right? Okay. So this, the answer to this would be undefined. Okay. You understand why that's undefined? Yeah. Okay. Does this make sense to you people? Do I need to do another example? I'm happy to do another one if you would like, but I don't need to. Okay, so are you all set? I have 10 problems for you. Is that too much? Okay, good. Then I'm going to let you get started.